Welcome back to Breakfast Television. Sid Sixero here with you on a Monday. Sportsnet is your home for the NHL playoffs. For more on what to expect in the postseason, which begins this Saturday, is Sportsnet's Jeff Marek, also one of the co-hosts of 32 Thoughts, the podcast with Elliot Friedman, one of the most listened to sports podcasts in the country. Yada, yada, yada. I don't have time to get through the rest of his resume. He's that important. Jeff, welcome back to the show. And the Stanley Cup, everyone. The Stanley Cup.
With Boston spelled incorrectly in 72, and I was disappointed to find out that the band that used to have the Montreal Canadiens 56-60, where Jacques Plante's name is spelled incorrectly 5 times.
Oh, just 5 times.
That band is no longer part of the Cup.
Well, if only someone from the Hall of Fame were here to fix that. We need to get that band, Howie, back on.
Come on, Howie.
Jeff, great to see you, man.
You too, man.
This is this week coming up here. Saturday is going to be Christmas morning for so many hockey fans.
Oh, it is.
And people in the hockey world. And it's a rare year for hockey in this country. We have 4 Canadian teams in the hunt for this. It hasn't happened since 1993. A Canadian team, the Montreal Canadiens, won the Stanley Cup. Briefly, Jeff, before I get your thoughts on all 4, why has it taken this long, do you think, for Lord Stanley to come back home?
It's a great question. There have been Canadian teams that have certainly made the final,
for sure,
but there hasn't been one that, as you mentioned correctly, since 1993. I think there's a lot of reasons for this one, honestly. I think that there's a lot of advantages that United States teams, specifically Southern teams, enjoy. And what I'm getting at here is the tax situation here, as players want to keep as much money in their jeans as possible. So there are certain advantages that's why you see Vegas win in a no-tax state. That's why you see Tampa win in a no-tax state. That's why you see the Florida Panthers go to the Stanley Cup final in a no-tax state. There are certain advantages of certain U.S. teams. We saw Nashville go to the Stanley Cup final as well, enjoying benefits that Canadian teams don't have. And honestly, one of the things that a lot of people will tell you is there's a lot of pressure playing on a Canadian team. I've always made that kind of joke, and I kind of mean it though. There's the two most difficult jobs in Canada right now and probably forever. Here are the 2 most difficult jobs, and I'm going to go in order. Number 1, Prime Minister. Number 2, starting goaltender for a Canadian hockey team. Those are the 2 hardest jobs in this country. Period. There's so much.
Most difficult job, the next Prime Minister.
Yes, and you know what? I'll tell you, there is so much pressure that a lot of players. Brian Burke would always tell me this when he worked with us at Sportsnet, that there are a lot of Canadian hockey players that because of the pressure, because you can't just be an anonymous citizen, you're always a hockey player in Canada. That there are a lot of Canadian players that say, "That's not for me, and I don't want to do it."
And I get that, to a point. I understand that too. I understand the tax situation more than the other part, but topic for another day. Again, 4 Canadian teams are in. It starts Saturday across the Sportsnet family of networks. I'm going to go one team at a time here. Mr. Marek, give me the most prevalent question in your mind for each team.
Sure.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Can they get the goaltending? Do they have a good enough defense? We know this team can score. Can they score under playoff pressure, though? We've seen William Nylander perform well in the postseason. What happens with Matthews, who's having a tremendous season, and what happens with Marner? But to me, the thing is defense and goaltending for Toronto.
Edmonton Oilers.
Is Connor McDavid healthy? And will Connor McDavid be healthy? We haven't seen it. We didn't see him play this weekend. We thought he might. So much, rides on those 2, nuclear missiles that the Edmonton Oilers have, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. If they're going to do anything, it's going to be because of those 2. And can the goaltender stand up? And that would be Stuart Skinner.
The Vancouver Canucks had one of the best seasons we've seen in years from that organization.
Yeah.
Biggest question with them is what?
Experience. I mean, this is a team that hasn't been there. We've seen teams before, go to the playoffs, riding hot on a great regular season, but this group of players as a team has never been in the postseason, so they don't know what to expect. We don't know what to expect out of them. They're a really complete team. It's a team that's going to enjoy a lot of hardware at the end of the season for NHL awards, whether it's the coach, whether it's the goaltender, whether it's maybe JT Miller. There's going to be a lot of individual hardware. Quinn Hughes will probably win the Norris Trophy as best defenseman, but do they know how to play playoff hockey yet? This is this team's first shot at it, and they've been one of the more pleasant surprises in the NHL.
Got about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Winnipeg Jets, one of my favorite stories of the year.
Yeah, maybe the most complete of all the Canadian teams, the Winnipeg Jets, this is a team that at every single level has it covered. They're really deep. They have an outstanding netminder in Connor Hellebuck, who will probably win the Vezina Trophy. Just watching Mark Scheifele there with a gorgeous pass. I mean, they can score, they can defend, they have a really underrated blue line. They maybe have the best goaltender in the NHL, and under Rick Bowness, they play a really strong defensive structure. I think of all the Canadian teams, and they're going in hot. They dusted Colorado 7 Cobb on Saturday.
Crazy weekend.
This